This is Dawn Must Follow Night, Part 1, Chapter 9, by Hunter Danson. Read by the author.
By the order of His Grace, the Lord of Dindran, raise the gate, the captain whined. He was sitting on his horse in full plate, with a freshly painted tree of Dindran on his breast. Alera looked down on him from the battlements. She smiled to herself. "Why?" she yelled down. The captain started. Clearly he had expected a different response. Alera could see him and his men by the moon. There were rows upon rows of them, lined up like a child's toy army. A large cart surrounded by civilians, craftsmen by the look of them, was nestled among the mounted guard. "Who goes there?" he yelled. "Me." "Who?" "I just told you." "Where is the If you want to pass, you'll have to pay." Alera looked down on the captain. His face was starting to turn red. "By the order of Her Majesty, Alera of the Black Cloaks." The rest of Alera's men sprang up and revealed themselves. "Hoorah!" they shouted in unison, aiming their crossbows down at the captain. His face went from red to pale as he stared up at the tips of 30 steel bolts. At this range, his plate wouldn't protect him. "Now, Captain, if you have any value for your life, you will listen to me very carefully and answer my questions. I will know if you lie." She held up her hand. Her men would know what to do if she let it drop. "What is in the cart?" Building supplies." "No balls on this one," Alera thought to herself. In truth, she had expected more resistance, but it appeared this captain was either too surprised or too frightened to put up a fight. His second in command rolled his eyes. At least, she thought it was the second. Upon closer inspection, she revised her opinion. The man was wearing no plate, just a plain black gambeson. Tall but not broad, he was perched in the saddle looking bored, despite the fact he was in the line of fire. Alera inspected his horse and barely made out the shape of a headsman's axe strapped to the side of the saddle. Now why would a justice be traveling with a company from Dindran? "Where are you going?" she asked. "To the castle of the Lord of Tormund." The captain seemed to find his courage. "There was an incident there, and he requested supplies to rebuild his main gate." "And did he request a full company as well?" She cast her eye over the soldiers again. They were well equipped, not run-of-the-mill conscripts. They stood erect, motionless, not giving the slightest indication that they cared about the bolts staring them down. "They'll follow any order, these. Ask them to kill their own mothers and they wouldn't bat an eye," she thought. Alera wondered why they would be under the command of such a green captain. "His Grace the Lord of Tormund expressed a desire for additional security until such time as the repairs to his gate are completed." The captain spoke the line like a bad mummer. Alera hated bad mummers. "Funny. Just came from Tormund and the gate seemed in fine shape." "It was a very recent event." "I'm sure it was." The captain shifted in his saddle and cast about like a rabbit looking for a hole. "We will pay you handsomely. No need for bloodshed. His Grace the Lord of Dindran has no need to start a quarrel with the Black Cloaks, though he will tolerate no crime on his lands." Alera laughed. "And what would His Grace consider this little episode, Sir Dorif? I am sure that His Grace would appreciate the cooperation of the Black Cloaks in exchange for a toll." He paused, his eyes darting back and forth across the battlements. "And the return of the bodies of the bridge guard for a decent burial." "Bravo, Sir Dorif. Didn't think you had it in you." Alera smiled. "You think too low of me, sir. The valiant defenders of the Tarn Bridge are alive and well. They're alive. The Black Cloaks are not common bandits. His Grace the Lord of Dindra agrees. They regarded each other. Moonbeams reflected off the helmets of Sir Durif's men. The headsman spit over the side of the bridge. Alera spoke. There are 2 gates here, as you know. We will raise the first one, and you will leave the coin by the tower door, no less than 700 gold pieces. Once you leave, we will count it, and if you are true to your word, we will raise both gates. Try anything while passing through, and we'll drop the gates on your army and remind the men trapped between why murder holes are named so. Clear, Sir Durif? Aye. We will even make it 800 to prove his grace's good intentions. What of the guard? We will release them once you and your men are safely across. At this, the executioner smiled and looked straight into her eyes. She grimaced and focused on the captain. Very well. Sir Durif puffed out his chest. He seemed proud of himself. The transaction was smooth. Sir Durif delivered the coin and retreated. She and her men counted the coin, and the soldiers passed through without incident. True to her word, Alera released the prisoners, minus their clothes, and her men went and got good and wet after watching the company of Dindran soldiers disappear into the night. While she celebrated the score with her black cloaks, Alera thought about the headsman, as well as the relative ease with which the captain had parted with the coin. Something off, Captain? Trill, her second-in-command, asked. Alera was brooding in the corner of the tavern. Nah, Trill. Just enjoying the wine. She held up the flask and smiled. It was not a very genuine one, but Trill was drunk and not very empathetic to begin with. He returned to celebrating with the others. Alera took a long swig. Durif was lying about Tormund. She knew because she had seen the intact gate not more than 3 moons previous. Then there was the headsman. She took another swig, bigger than the first. Justices were supposed to travel alone. They were supposed to be independent, not to mention his damn grin. She gulped down more wine. No sane man smiled like that.